I've had my Dyson DC17 Animal for about 8 years, and while it's been a fantastic vacuum, especially with the cat, it has gotten a lot noisier over the years, and it just doesn't seem to be doing quite as good a job with the carpet. I've taken a look at it, and the brush roller looks pretty worn on it. I'll show you that here in a second. And it also is making a lot more noise, and I noticed that it's only when it's actually when the brush roller is running. I think the thing has just gotten worn out, so I went through, looked at the Dyson website, and they don't actually even offer replacement parts for this. They've got a few, like some of the accessories, but they don't have the brush roller. They do have a belt. Did a little more searching with Google, though, and found a supplier. I've got links in the comments below that talk about where I got the parts for this job. They're all Dyson genuine parts. And I'm going to show you today just how simple it is to go through and replace the wearable and consumable parts on a Dyson vacuum. Again, this is not something that needs to be done frequently. I've had this one for 8 years, and it's just built up over time, but I think it's about time for it, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of the parts and how they wear over time. But let's get started. First thing to do is go through and unplug the vacuum. You do not want the thing coming on while you're doing the testing. There's a possibility of bumping the switches, and that could definitely hurt. So the vacuum is unplugged. The parts we're going to be using today is I've got a replacement brush roller. There are 2 filters inside the vacuum, not just the washable pre-filter that they talk about in the maintenance manual. And I got a replacement for the belt as well, because that was looking a little worn. The only tools we're going to be needing is a fairly large flat blade screwdriver and a number 2 Phillips screwdriver to get rid of the screw for one of the filters, or to pull that out. Easiest way to do this is to, accessories like popping off. Get those out of the way now. Turn the vacuum over. Again, make sure it's unplugged. And if you look at the bottom where the brush head is, there are 3 slotted fasteners. These are captive quarter turn fasteners. You just turn each one a quarter of a turn counterclockwise. And the cover plate, the bottom for the brush assembly, comes right off. We'll set that aside. To remove the roller assembly itself, and you'll notice it's making a bit of noise when it turns. I'll show you that here. The easiest way is to pull it out of the slots. You just lift it up. Give it about 1/8 of a turn, and that loosens the belt up. And with the belt loose, you can just pull it out. Takes a little wiggling, but it comes right out. And at this point, if we take a look at it, you'll see the brush. This is a brush that is running against the carpet at a pretty high speed the whole time it's running. And like any other brush, I mean, think of a toothbrush. That only lasts a few months. This thing is sitting rubbing there against the carpet at fairly high speed for years. And you can see it just looks a little worn. The bristles get softer. They're torn up in a few spots, but most importantly, there's a set of bearings on the end, and if you listen to this, not sure how well you can hear that on the mic, but they're a little on the noisy side. And I've actually gone through in the past on these, tried to pull this apart and clean them, and they're really not designed to be serviced, so that wasn't really a solution. But we'll set that aside. Once you've got the roller pulled out, the belt will just come right off of the drive pulley down there. We'll set those aside. We're not going to need them anymore. Got the new replacement brush roller. And try that again. You cannot hear it turning. It seems a lot more solid. And putting it in is a replacement. We've got the new belt. Easiest way I found with this is reach in and get the belt around the motor drive pulley first. And then we're just going to reverse what we did before. You want to make sure that you've got the pulley end of the brush roll on the correct side, and it's marked really well with the belt protector there. We just slip this through. It's already on the pulley on the motor. Just twist this a little. Once it's there, again, with it at about 1/8 of a turn twisted, that gives it enough flexibility that we can pull it up over, get it put onto, now it's all in place. And if you look at the end places here, it's flat on one side, half curve on the other with a tab in the middle. That tab needs to be down towards the inside of the vacuum. There's a slot that it fits in. And we'll just get that twisted around properly. Make sure the tab is down into the slot on both sides. And it was rattling really badly before. Now it seems really firm. To put it back in, there are some locking tabs down here on the front that fit into little clips on the bottom plate. You just put that in. Should fit in very easily. Turn each of the fasteners 1/4 of a turn to the right, and we've got it put back together. Brush roll and belt is replaced. Now let's plug it in and see if it sounds any better. Much quieter. None of the rattling sounds. I'm not sure I can see a difference on the carpet, but it has the new brush roll, so it should be doing a better job there. Now that we've done that, there are still 2 filters that need to be replaced. The first, you just remove the canister, and if you haven't read the manual, you might not know that this actually exists, but underneath the canister, if you lift the tab up, you'll see that there's a filter in here that is supposed to be washed periodically. It's a little tab to help pull it up. Again, I've washed it every 6 months, like they say. They've actually got a 6 marked on it. But even with that, it doesn't ever seem quite as clean as it did originally, so we're going to toss that. And we've got a replacement filter. I'm going to find the tab. You want to look through it. There's a little tab that you lift up. I found it's easiest to have that towards the front for the next time you need to pull it out to wash it. Got that pressed in. Put that back down. And put the canister in place. Now the final one, and I discovered this when I was researching the project, there's actually an additional filter. It's a HEPA post filter that goes in to filter the air after it's coming out of the motor. So that gets any really fine dust that might have been missed before. And from what I've read, we'll take a look at this, it also captures any carbon dust from the brushes in the motor. In order to do that, again, breaking my rule here, let's make sure the vacuum is unplugged. There is a screw underneath on the bottom side. There's the motor, you've got the wheel, and there's an opening there for that a screwdriver fits into. If you just put the screwdriver in and loosen the screw, I'll flip this back over. It's on the left side of the vacuum as you're using it. There's a plastic cover here. If you pull this off, you'll see there's a filter inside. You need to pull it away from the body of the vacuum, and it pulls out. And if you compare the two, here is the one from the vacuum. This is absolutely filthy. I'm assuming most of the black there is the carbon dust. Here's the near filter, really clean. As this fills, it's a HEPA filter, so it's extremely fine. As that fills up with dirt and particulates, that's going to obstruct the filter, and that could affect the performance of the vacuum. So again, we take the new filter, put it down into the opening. It snaps in. Make sure that's all in. Put the cover plate back in place and tighten the screw. And there we've done it. Start to finish on this entire job, once we had the parts, was about 10 minutes. It's a very simple job. And I can already notice just from running it right now that the vacuum is a whole lot quieter than it was before. And I'm assuming it's going to be working a little better with the cleaner filters. Sounds good, seems to be working. Again, thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel with the link below if you find this interesting, and I hope this was helpful.